Shenandoah University is a big little university rising.
With 22 Division III sports teams, over 200 areas of study,
over 300 annual performances, an elite academic esports program,
nationally ranked health professions programs, one of the biggest university presences on Broadway,
immersive AR and VR learning programs,
cybersecurity and computer science programs, and innovative undergrad and graduate programs.
all at a place that cares for you.
Shenandoah University is the big little university rising. Find out more at su.edu/rising.
We have the Esports Arena right here on campus in Winchester, Virginia, and this facility acts as the hub for all esports activity at Shenandoah University. Students are able to use this space not just for competition and practices, but also as a living learning community and a sandbox for them to come and explore and practice and try out things related to and through esports in the gaming industry so that they're getting that hands-on learning and the skills necessary to help them find a career by the time they graduate. We also have the professional level broadcast production booth where we do all of our broadcasting and production, from casting of our games that we play right here on campus to working with outside entities to record footage for them as well. In addition to the space that we have here in the Esports Arena is the Esports War Room. Our students get to use that space for studying, but also outside projects. So our students get to use this space for professional development and the academic side of our esports program, which is such a critical component to go with that competitive element that we have. So we combine all of our facilities at Shenandoah University with competition, community, and career preparation. We have over 250 days of programming, and there's something for everybody, and we want you to be part of it.
Good evening, Shenandoah Esports, and welcome back to another wonderful day of some games. I'm, of course, Tiny Shiny Molly Dens, here interviewing our League of Legends player, Emery, aka M-Pro, for heading into your NECC match today. And from what I hear, this is a pretty important one for you guys. You've been unable to find a win so far this season, so kind of heading in today, I've heard you guys have been pretty hopeful about this game.
Yeah, we've been really hopeful about this game. We had a really good scrim yesterday. We won all three in our block, so we have started to find our kind of ground after so many setbacks and so many losses. But I'm really confident going into this game that we can pull a win, maybe even two, and that's our first win in the series. So.
Hey, it's always there. You always have the chance to do it, and I think that's where a lot of our esports teams here at Shenandoah have been in a similar situation, is that you've had enough time to get your feet wet, you know what you're heading into, and it sounds like for the League of Legends teams, you guys have really reached that point, and I kind of want to hear from you, what has been some of the main focuses? What have you guys been working on to kind of get to this point today?
Oh, all right. The main focus that we've been working on is really communication, because when we start losing, when we start getting behind, all of our mental goes down and there's just a lot of silence, a lot of quiet. But it's just keeping up that line of communication, not being afraid to say, like, when you need resources, like, hey, I need you to be here. Hey, I need this, rather than just being like, oh, I don't really want to step on your toes. You know how to play the game just as well as I do. So yeah, and once we start to get our roles in place, we start to know our place on the team, and that connection formed, we really started to talk more, and the talking helps. You just talk. Yeah. Any information you can give will help. Don't assume anyone knows anything.
And I think that's a big part of being on a team too, though, right? It's like it takes a while to get comfortable enough with each other, just to be assertive. So you're like, hey, give me this, you get over here right now, or I'm going to die. Like you need to have this kind of communication. So it's great that you guys have come so far along to reach that point today. And I know for you, this isn't your first time on the team, if I'm not mistaken, but you did take a bit of a break, kind of in there. What has it been like coming back to the League of Legends team after having some time off?
It's been something. So I competed for 2 semesters in my first year, and then I took 2 years off to do cheerleading. I'm still doing cheerleading, but now I'm doing both. So that's something. I kept up my competitive experience. I've been on 4 amateur teams in the meantime. However, coming back, it's learning the role, I'm no longer, like, my amateur teams, we're not the highest rank. Now I've got people who are higher ranked than me that I can learn from and stuff like that. So it's learning not to be intimidated by better players. Like, better players, yes, they're there to learn from. They're there because they know a lot, but you have your specialties and you know just as much. So it's very much finding your feet of being able to be assertive around people who you're like, why do they care? I'm way lower ranked than them. So definitely.
There you go. Hey, newfound confidence in our Shenandoah Esports League of Legends team. And we're very excited to see how you guys perform today. Gonna go ahead and let you go, finish getting warmed up, and we're gonna get this broadcast going for you guys in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned. Much more League of Legends to come.
As the competitive seasons start to wind down and we approach the holiday season, so too will our broadcast schedule start to switch up. But welcome back, everybody, to another Shenandoah Esports broadcast. We are live from our Esports Arena here in Winchester, Virginia, joined by some students behind us from the Randolph-Macon Academy. So shout out to them. But Chris Clayton joining you again as is every Tuesday evening broadcast, but joined by my lovely brother Kevin in place for Ben Kincaid, because we have a different show for you today. Instead of our usual 3-game slate of absolute chaos, we will only be bringing you League of Legends tonight, as our Overwatch team will be competing at the same time off stream, and our Smash Bros squad has already qualified and their regular season is done. So deep into the season, lots of things going on, but we've got a full series of League of Legends to watch today.
Yes, and the last time we saw this League of Legends roster, Chris, I was so excited to see the little bit of growth that they have started implementing over the last couple of weeks, where they've started to gel just a little bit more. They're all getting on the same page and are starting to get a form of a game plan down. So I'm really hoping today that we get to see a little bit more of that, but that's not going to be an easy task with the opponent we've got right here.
Yeah, we've got a quick graphic we can show you here as we take a look at the standings. Today, our opponent will be Asheville University there on the left side of your screen, with a record of 3-1 so far in NECC competitions. So, unfortunately, we do see on the other side of the screen Shenandoah winless through the season, looking for their first, and this is certainly not an easy one to get. But you said it, right? Every week is something new with this team, right? We've had the roster move around. We've had champions switch around, with the meta shifts every 2 weeks by rule. So every week this team looks so different, but every week they look better than the last. And so I'm so excited to see if we can really see this team start to pull it all together today.
Yeah, and you can see on these face cams here, they're starting to lock in, Chris. They're trying to get into that mindset of, hey, we need to go into this ready beyond anything we've ever seen before. One of the coaches for Shenandoah was very particular. There are a couple of players on this opposing team that are very intimidating, the kind of players that you have to respect. In any other title, you would understandably be sending in your best opponent, like in the Smash Bros scene, or for Overwatch, you would need to make sure your CC is applied carefully. In this scenario, it sounds like on the top side, we have a challenger opponent through Spit.
Yeah, certainly not something that we as a Shenandoah fan might be looking forward to, but that's part of the challenge, right? That's the hurdle that SU is going to have to overcome today, and we'll see if they're able to do it. We have received word that, yeah, they do have a challenger player that is listed as top lane, but we've been told that they might be moving around at times, so it's really only going to be confirmed once we get into game, and we'll be taking you through draft live here as soon as that begins, and we'll keep you up to date with that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting challenge, right? Certainly nothing that we've seen Shenandoah have to overcome yet this year. But I mean, this roster has steadily improved in multiple ways as the year has gone on. So this is a big test, and we'll see if they're able to pass it.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit before we get too far into this draft. We did see a lot of great highlights last week for the League of Legends team where they were starting to get a couple of good team fights and had their little moments of sunshine. But when it came to who was making these big plays, a lot of it came through the AD carry. So as we start to see these bans, I'm a little shocked to see we aren't seeing any targets against Shenandoah's AD carry to start things off.
Yeah, we saw Shenandoah's AD carry go almost deathless through 2 games in their loss last week. So certainly an avenue to win through if you're cooking up a strategy for Shenandoah. That's obviously the glaring win con, or at least it was last week. You know, this team certainly has talent in other positions, and we'll see if they opt to go for a similar strategy. But you're right, I'm kind of surprised so far as we have 5 bans coming through. 0 AD carries banned until the last one, Smolder, which I believe is actually targeted towards Kangaroo Feet.
Yes, we see a lot of very meta-based bans where Teemo is banned not necessarily for top lane, but for the jungle side of things, which is crazy to think about. But also the Smolder, who has been running through top lane, means that now Kangaroo Feet needs to have another option available who could be another potentially difficult champion for a lot of standard top laners to deal with. We'll have to see, but Corki is locked in for SU almost immediately as they respond with 2 globals. Chris, I think we've seen that one before.
Yeah, those 2 champions on the right side of your screen might look awfully familiar if you followed the Shenandoah team in years past when a certain 2 Clayton brothers were on the team, but we won't go too heavy into that. These types of characters, I mean, we see it so far, Nocturne and Kaisa, not exactly Morgana, but those 2 champions are so dive heavy. And just based off bans, I would have thought that Shenandoah might have been opting for more of a dive heavy comp with getting rid of the Syndra, getting rid of the Amumu, right? But ultimately, yeah, we see that Asheville opting to go absolutely pedal to the metal, get into your backline, but Shenandoah responding with that Misfortune pick that we saw last week be so successful.
Yeah, that excites me as a Shenandoah viewer, but on the other side, we do see that Gnar is banned and Yone is banned for SU, which means that Kangaroo Feet's option that we have seen last week are starting to dwindle even more, so I'm a little worried about what sort of answers they may have going into the rest of this draft.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. We saw Kangaroo Feet last week play more hyper carry top laners, and ultimately it looks like they're banning out their own Yone, right? So we'll see what type of playstyle Kangaroo Feet opts for, but it's especially interesting to me because that Corki definitely could have been AD carry, right? That Corki, since his little mini rework, has become more of an AD carry than a mid laner. But with the Misfortune Nautilus pick back-to-back, it certainly seems like that Corki will be going mid. And as we see the 2 remaining champions come out from Shenandoah, it will be Skarner and Shen are the picks. So truly, lots of AD damage coming from these 2 carries on that Shenandoah squad.
Oh, Chris, this is a very scary last pick. I love the team comp that Shenandoah has going, but they're very AD heavy.
Yes,
that's a lot of physical damage. And while the draft so far did not have many tanks, if there's one character who loves to just have a little bit of armor and run through your team, it is Olaf.
Yeah, and we see really the Olaf, a very strong R5 pick there, right? With the 1 real carry coming from the Misfortune is going to be left somewhat exposed. Granted, you know, Shen ultimate is a shield that will help out, but the Shen taunt and the Skarner, all that CC from that character is somewhat invalidated by 1 press of a button from this Olaf that'll last, what, like 5 seconds or however long that Ragnarok lasts. I want to touch on the Hui as well. That's some extra range and sort of pokiness to really help out with the Kaisa and Nocturne, really set them up for whenever they decide to pull the trigger. I do like this comp from Asheville, but it'll be interesting to see how Shenandoah is able to execute that playstyle, because they're certainly, I don't think this is a worse comp, it's just different.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at Shenandoah's comp, going into that last pick, I had to be feeling pretty good. The one change, if we had the intuition or like a general like idea of what Spit would be going for, I think going for like a Jarvan jungle where you set up the Cataclysm for this Misfortune to just use her ultimate and get that damage on deck. I mean, it's so powerful, but now you're going to have to deal with this character who will be in your face, and there won't be any great answers keeping that Olaf off of the Fortune.
Yeah, it's a little scary, right? We got the Olaf Ragnarok. The Morgana Black Shield is going to mean that, yeah, with the Skarner ult, you would think that Skarner ult could grab multiple people and serve the same purpose as a Cataclysm, right? Hold them still for that Misfortune bullet time to just rain down so much damage. But now you have effectively 2 people on that Asheville roster that can't get Skarner ulted. And all this, I mean, how many times are you going to hit more than 2 people with a Skarner ultimate? So I think you're onto something, right? It's going to be hard to get value out of that Skarner pick, especially with that last pick Olaf. That hurts a lot if you're Shenandoah.
Yes, but it's not necessarily over. I do think that if Shenandoah is able to start these fights off with a pick, and you got Nautilus and Skarner and Shen to do that, as long as you're the one initiating this fight, getting something a little bit early, that will mean you can walk away with the lead that you want for these games, and that is the name of the game in League. You want your early money. You either want to match in terms of Shenandoah's sort of wombo combo comp, or you are going to go down slightly or just run away with it. You never want to hit that point where it becomes a little unstoppable, and Shenandoah showed us that they can get to that point. It's just now, can they deliver on the late game?
Exactly, and we know that Shenandoah last week kind of took a game to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
With being this late in the season and up against an opponent that is looking very strong, I don't think you can afford to really fall behind early or take a game to sort of warm up before you're able to execute and get to mid-game, late-game type play styles. So that's going to be the big question for me, right? Can Shenandoah's mechanics keep up through the first 15 minutes of the game? Because if they can, I agree. I think they've got the best shot that they'll have is if they can make it through laning phase and be able to play as a team. And that was kind of the story of the last couple weeks. We've touched on it a couple times through this broadcast so far. The improvements of this team come as a team, right? The players themselves have just become more synergized and more coordinated, more deliberate in their decision making. And none of that will matter if they can't get to that point in the game.
Oh, right. Not only that, but also we're going into a team that we know relatively little about. We have heard about this top laner who is, again, challenger level, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that is an unstoppable beast. They have a loss on their record. That is a very clear sign that they're not unstoppable. It's just a matter of finding that weakness. Maybe it is through the other lanes, and if it is through the bot lane, that means that Shenandoah is set up for the success to try and bring it home. But if it's somewhere else on the map where you're trying to capitalize on maybe a weakness in like the jungle or even the mid lane, it becomes a lot harder to deal with those lanes just because they are a little bit more narrow, or the entire jungle. So
Right.
I'm very excited to see if Shenandoah can sort of find opportunities, maybe get this game going, or shutting down this Olaf early. Yes, he has a very strong level 1 and 2, but once he's level 3, if you can call for help, if you can set up your lane right, that Olaf might go down after being a little bit too aggressive early.
Yeah, and as we keep, we can keep sitting here and talk about these comps for a while, and for those of you watching at home, maybe less familiar with League, or those of us in the arena who might not know a ton about League of Legends, after the draft we do have an inherent 3-minute delay where the players are actually in game right now, but our feed of the game will be delayed by exactly 3 minutes to keep up competitive integrity, right? So we can't have people watching the game and talking to the players and stuff like that. But I also want to take a moment to shout out, you may be able to see over our shoulders, our Overwatch team has also just started their competition. So I believe that's Tiny Shiny streaming, if I can see over my own shoulder correctly. So be sure to, if you're here to watch Overwatch, be sure to tune into her stream. But we will be covering the League of Legends series here against Asheville as soon as that 3-minute delay ticks down to 0.
Absolutely, and I am looking forward to hearing those pop-offs behind us. If the Overwatch team brings it home, I hope they get loud. Yeah.
Yeah. We will certainly keep you up to date with anything we hear, right? We've got plenty of people in the arena that will keep us posted, and then we will keep you posted at home. So Yeah, we've got a lot going on here in the arena, and that's the beauty of this school, this program. We certainly stay active in all facets, especially getting the younger audience out here. This is an awesome little treat we've got going, and I'm super proud of the students and faculty that made all this happen and have ensured that these kids all have a great experience here. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great day here on the Shenandoah campus.
Oh yeah, I every single time I enter this building, Chris, it's just one after another. It always just feels good.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to League just for a moment.
Sure.
Looking towards the jungle side of things, I want to go into depth a little bit more about that, because Skarnar originally was just an ult button, and that means that we would have had 2 ult buttons in the jungle. But that character has turned into a whole other beast. And now I have a character who is so incredibly valuable in the early game, who's able to run through the wall and just get a huge amount of CC going early. If we are expecting to see Shenandoah do well, I think it's going to have to come in through the first 6 or so levels. Because you have Nocturne ulti, and you have Olaf ulti. If you can shut them down even once before that level 6, your life becomes a whole lot more easier. But you do need to worry, right? Hui is a beast whether he's got his ultimate or not. And same with Kai'Sa, but the ultimate is very critical for like dashing out, getting away type deal. So as we hop into game, I'm hoping to see, can Shenandoah get this early, again, the early lead. That's all that this is going to come down to. But as we sit in the jungle, seeing as both sides are kind of dancing around each other, who will make the first move?
Yeah, I'm really trying to play out these late game team fights in my head. I'm trying to think of who goes where and when, because we know that Olaf, Nocturne, Kai'Sa want to dive extremely hard onto Levivane, right? As soon as they can take her out, they will. But with the rest of this roster, right, I mean, Corki is going to be dishing damage basically at all stages of the game, but especially late game. That's going to be the person to keep an eye out, I think, because he's going to be a little bit harder to get on top of. But something I forgot to mention earlier on is that Nocturne also has a spell shield. So that's just another reason, because in my head I'm thinking, okay, Morgana places a black shield on a Nocturne, Nocturne dives deep into the back, and we get a lot of action, you know, in whatever team's backline. But Nocturne has a spell shield. If he's able to time it right, he can't be CC'd either. So I do worry for the 5v5 team fights of Shenandoah, and it might just come down to avoiding 5v5s all around.
Yeah, and I also want to address, as we see a ton of damage down in the bot side and a bit of a skirmish here on the top side. Olaf using the ghost, giving some damage, forcing flashes from both sides. Will Olaf go down? The tower shot is not enough.
Wow, yeah, he leveled up in there, so the tower shot can't quite finish the job. But, I mean, that's early game Olaf, right? The lower he gets health bar-wise, the stronger he gets. And opting to bring Ghost with his flash is a really interesting option. Ultimately, overwhelming Kangaroo Feed and going down at level 2.
I'm seeing on the top side, not only did Olaf start with the Doran's Blade, he used the potion, and Shen didn't. He opted to just sort of save his resources and maybe just accept that he was going to go down there and teleport back up for that wave, as we do see the Nocturne starting to walk down bot side and a gank to ensue.
Yes, Morgana Q does not quite land, which will mean Levivane easy walk out there. That Misfortune movement speed, not sure if she's leveled her W yet. Actually, I don't think she has, because I believe we've seen a Q and an E, but still a good dodge there to get away from the gank. Nocturne left empty-handed.
Yes, I want to talk, Chris, about the dragon. We see that the first dragon is Ocean Soul, and I recently was doing a little bit of research on the first dragons of the game. Whoever gets the first dragon, specifically for Ocean Soul, usually 60% win rate.
Wow.
That is ridiculous for the first dragon of your game.
Yeah, that's jarring.
Thinking about the sustain later on. We were talking about taking down Olaf and Nocturne before they hit level 6. Well, that becomes a whole lot harder if this first dragon is taken down before that point.
Yeah, and keep an eye out, right? We know the top laners won't have TP, and that's fine, right, for those early dragons. But both mid laners also with teleport. Corki just using his now, so that won't be up, but he obviously shouldn't need it to move down from mid lane. But I want to keep an eye on the wave state of this top lane too. Did you see how big that wave was just a moment ago? I can't tell based off the minimap if Olaf was able to hold that in front of his tower or not, but that could also be a very problematic situation brewing for Shenandoah if that is a freeze up there. But we see a little skirmish coming out here in the bot lane. Black Shield coming out in time for that Kai'Sa, but we also have a gank mid lane. Galaxy Bird coming through the lane, through the wall, finding his damage, but no CC to lock this way down will mean he will ultimately walk out, and Nocturne is here for the counter gank. A lot of damage and the fear coming out. The spell shield also blocking any CC coming his way, but a trade kill going to the Corki will mean that it's a 1-for-1 trade, and money in Corki's pocket is certainly nothing to be upset about.
Keep in mind that this Corki was the first pick of this draft. Shenandoah knows how valuable this character is right now, so getting money on that Corki early is going to be so useful, as now Dragon has spawned on the map, but the jungler for Asheville is on the top side of the map, which means we may see a play bot side into the early Dragon take.
Yeah, and look at how chunked out Noob is on this Corki, right? He can't really be there for a Dragon fight like this Hui can, because Hui has a fully purchased Lost Chapter, but we do see the Skarner through the wall again, and the Black Shield a little too late. Morgana gets caught and scooped back toward the Shenandoah 80 carry, and the kill will go her way. Levivane finding her first as well. 2 kills onto the 2 carries for Shenandoah before the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, Nocturne is sitting pretty on his jungle camps, as we see Kangaroofi also having to sit back a little bit. This game will come down to those team fights, which means Nocturne's trying to speedrun that, trying to get to his level 6 as fast as he can, and Skarner has all the time in the world to keep getting aggressive.
Man, look at this. Galaxy Bird all over the map, and light work there to pin the Hui into the wall. Hui getting a little too aggressive, little low health, and a little too far forward will spell an easy combo for death. Noob with a second kill, didn't even back from the first one. He's probably sitting on a lot of gold right now.
Oh, this is a very dangerous spot. Not only is Olaf unstoppable, but the Nocturne gank topside means that the Kangaroo feet will go down again as another Ghost ulti is burned.
Yeah, and look at that wave he's losing too. That is suboptimal if you are Kangaroo feet, right? That starts to hurt, but we do see the plated steel caps be the first item of choice on the Shen. Makes sense, right? Into this Nocturne Olaf duo. He's certainly going to need that armor, but we do see the result of that previous gank being all 3 grubs likely going Asheville's way.
And again, talking about the win rates of getting your objectives early, grubs also just add a ton of value for that, which means that we may see this turn towards Asheville's favor, as the gold is also about a 1K difference, but a Nautilus hook from downtown is able to connect.
Yeah, Morgana finding herself mid means that no Black Shield to save the Kai'Sa from that Nautilus hook, but Empro walking away a little bit of an aggressive direction. No, ultimately does not get punished for it, but that's a lot of damage and 2 summoner spells out of Cynthia, the Kai'Sa player, and that's a big deal, right? Against the Nautilus, we see Morgana is back to prevent any more plays like that, but yeah, that's a great play from SU's bot lane, capitalizing on the roam mid.
Yeah, and these double ups are starting to do crazy damage, Chris, as Olaf gets his first plate topside, and Shen using the shield to block a majority of the Olaf Q damage means that he will be sitting pretty, and Galaxy Bird trying to look at that early dragon.
Yeah, another mistimed Black Shield does not prevent that hook, and again, a lot of great damage. Black Shield doesn't save you from that Misfortune ultimate, so really chunking out this Asheville bot lane is now the Black Shield's on cooldown, and a really well-placed hook mean that kill will go down. Empro ultimately getting the money for it, but not too bad at all, as now Shenandoah could move toward this dragon, but look at Nocturne posturing in this tri-bush as now we look top lane too at the gank on the other side of the map. Kangaroo Feet goes down, but that's 2 players top, meaning that Shenandoah has numbers here. Nocturne ult fights all over the map. Nocturne ults onto Levivane, 2 kills top lane for Noob, but a shutdown going to Noob from the top lane means that Galaxy Bird in from the Dragon Pit and drags the Nocturne under tower. Chaos across the map, 7 kills to 5. Shenandoah leads and walks away with the Dragon.
I am so excited now because we see Corki has a lot of value, but Skarner is running in for more.
Again, yeah, Kaisa getting a little too aggressive. These laners not respecting the walls that Skarner can literally crawl through. This Galaxy Bird has been all over the map. 5 kill participations, and 2 of those only being missed because he was taking Dragon. So such an incredible play so far from Galaxy Bird, recognizing the flaws and the missteps so far from this Asheville squad. But man, SU, the team plays are really coming together.
Yeah, and we talked about the first Dragon win rate being so valuable. A hook in the mid lane as Corki already has the Collector. Chris, look at the damage.
So much Corki damage, and that's true damage too, just inherently from that passive. We do see the Morgana Q come down. That's a really long binding. Empro just barely misses the wall, but lands an ultimate the other direction. They could go back, but Noob ultimately deciding not to, and that might be the right decision as we did see Olaf in that top river bush. So great awareness there from Shenandoah, keeping track of where this dangerous Olaf is, but at 2-1 and a Tiamat and a Phage, that is a scary Olaf.
Yes, Asheville has been putting a lot of resources into this top side. We've seen the mid laner and the jungler for Asheville try and dive Shenandoah's top laner multiple times, and yes, it has worked, but on the other side of the map, it has started working against what they have to offer, as now Shenandoah has the gold lead, and you're playing through a player who we already knew, yes, was very strong, but are they going to be strong enough to single-handedly bring this back?
Yeah, and again, the longer this game goes on with these shutdowns onto these relatively immobile AD carries, I do fear for what a strong and rich Olaf could be capable of with a black shield and his ultimate and that ghost, as we see a lot of damage there coming out onto Galaxy Bird, ultimately deciding to flash away. But now we see Kangaroo Feet might be able to look to come down, but Spit with his jungler there taking the blue buff, and it looks like SU will opt to just let them have it for now.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like there are so many situations where you make the call that they're in your jungle. You're not supposed to let someone be. Yeah, exactly. But Shen has only just gotten 1 Ruby Crystal, and while Skarner does have a mythic on, or does have his first completed item on what the Asheville roster has going on to start things off, it just doesn't feel right. Those characters are incredibly strong early game, and Skarner doesn't have any armor yet. Yes, he's got that health, but it's very easy to melt through that when Olaf Shred will work with Nocturne speed and just really bring it home.
Yeah, we also see on the bot side of the map, both AD carries finishing their first items and getting boots from their runes, so a relatively even state down in this bot lane. But the kill participation's a little higher for this Misfortune, right? I'm sure she's sitting on a little bit more money than the Kaisa, and you know, we know what this Misfortune is capable of in a team fight, right? The damage that can be spread around on all the players. But if Levivane is able to keep up that poke damage that we keep seeing, it feels like every time our camera pans bot lane, there's a double up going through a minion and landing onto this Kaisa. And if she keeps getting chunked out, SU, I'm sure, is going to catch on.
Yeah, Chris, the last time we were on this desk, we talked a little bit about that Misfortune starting item.
Whoa.
And I don't know if I still feel good about it or not, but a fight's breaking out, so we'll talk about that first.
Yeah, we do see 3 players start to collapse onto Galaxy Bird, but with a fully complete Heartsteel, he's a little too tanky, but Asheville making the play onto Noob, very low. Corki from the Nocturne ult. Here comes the Shen ult too. Not as low as he was before, but Noob still probably needs to get out the hook, and Nautilus ultimate will find its way onto Kaisa. She will flash out and use her barrier once again. Bullet time comes down, can't quite finish the kill as Cynthia now forced to recall under her tower, and Kangaroo Feet just had his teleport canceled in the middle of the lane from the Hui CC. An unfortunate misplay there from Kangaroo Feet means that now Olaf probably gets massive money from plates in the top lane.
Yeah, we already see a Stride Breaker completed on this Olaf and a big
Look
wave.
at that.
And I bet this Olaf has ulti. He may opt to just finish this. No, he does back away, but Nocturne's on the top side of the map, and we've seen how many times Kangaroo Feet has gotten dove on these plays. It doesn't feel great to lose out on the fight we saw earlier. No one went down in that exchange, which is devastating when you're burning so many high cooldown ultis trying to get something, and instead Olaf walks away with 5 plates and first tower gold.
That's terrifying, quite frankly. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. That is a very, very problematic Olaf that's going to come out of this top lane laning phase, as we do see a little skirmish for the Dragon. A well-timed smite from Galaxy Bird will mean that no issues there for Shenandoah, but Nocturne making his way, back into the jungle. I mean, this is a really interesting game, right? We see 9 to 5 kills in favor of Shenandoah, but a gold lead for Asheville, I'm sure, is strictly on this Olaf.
Yeah, and we just saw how mobile Shenandoah's comp is. As a fight does break down on the bot side, the Black Shield is burned.
Yeah, Black Shield mistimed once again, and now the Black Shield is down if Galaxy Bird is able to get there in time, but not enough damage, while a binding also lands onto Galaxy Bird under tower. A lot of damage, and the Kaisa ult will go in to finish the job. The Static Shiv spreading its damage around, but Levivane will likely find 2, and she sure won't, excuse me. Unable to get the second kill. Looks like Levivane maybe opted to just back out and not get too greedy, but now Empro once again backing out in a bit of an aggressive direction, but not enough damage, as this way has his Blackfire Torch and Sork Boots. Only a little bit of burning damage coming from this way.
This is the moment in time where you really need to start asking the rest of the map for help. Olaf just pocketed another 700 gold topside, and while the AD carry will be able to get this tower and get a little bit of money for themselves, we talked about how dangerous this Olaf is going to be, and I don't know if Shenandoah's kit will be enough to stop it.
Yeah, so far, the longer this game goes on, the more I like Asheville's game state over Shenandoah's, right? I liked the early plays that Shenandoah was able to make, but something needs to be done about this Olaf in the top lane, right? He hasn't even backed since taking that tower, so God knows what he's sitting on as a Herald is dropped mid and Hui takes the charge. Galaxy Bird looking to see if he can find anything, but he is not unstoppable in that move. He's going to take a lot of damage. He gets rooted, forced to flash away from the Morgana. Oh, that would have been a stun if he did not. And Skarner finding himself in some trouble. Now his Spitmouth uses the Ghost, finds the slow, and the ultimate won't come out. The Ragnarok will. Finding his way under tower, the hook won't quite land. Spitmouth making his presence known under this tower, and SU forced to just sit and watch.
Yeah, right now we do see Shen is sitting topside, trying to get that money back into his pocket to potentially bring this back. But as of right now, it's on the rest of Shenandoah's roster to try and keep this game alive. And the fortune damage may be enough, but you want to do a fight where Olaf is not there. If I had to bet, Olaf is going to go back into a side lane, try to get a little bit more money going. It means you want to start doing these team fights mid and really making sure your damage flies.
Yeah, and keep an eye on this Corky's money too. He's got the Collector, he's got a BF Sword, and a Pickaxe. That will be an Infinity Edge before we know it, and that's a lot of damage, right? This Olaf does have the plated steel caps, but that's it. He is building damage. He's not building much in terms of defenses. So we know that he can't be CC'd. The answer from Shenandoah has to be damage. Kill him before he kills us, and make sure that we focus literally every bit of our damage on killing him as fast as possible. So a lot of that damage is going to come from this Corky, right? As soon as that Infinity Edge lands, that will be a turning point for Shenandoah if they're able to execute.
We do see Skarner opting to take the back. Kangaroofi getting a little bit more money in his pocket, opting for that Heartsteel. Should get it shortly, but we do see items starting to finish for the rest of the team through The only other player not having their item completed is Morgana going for the mask, as I am very worried, Chris. We see so many players. Oh my goodness, maybe I don't need to be worried, as one double up just did 400 damage to that Morgana.
Man, I'm really liking this playstyle that we're seeing from Levivane. It's something that I haven't quite seen in previous weeks. Levivane was getting a lot of kills in the last couple weeks of league competition, and she wasn't going down. It was great. But the aggression in lane and in situations like these, getting this kind of damage off is not something we often see from her, but it's certainly making a difference, right? We saw that type of aggression, that type of positioning force a flash out of Morgana, and I mean, we'll keep an eye out in later fights, right? But that flash being down is a big one.
Yeah, but when you're dealing with an immobile AD carry, that does mean that Olaf is here to play as he makes his way towards the mid lane, opting not to try and go for anything crazy on Shenandoah's AD carry, but instead the team appears to be looking at this Chemtech Dragon.
Yeah, Shen with both his TP and his ultimate up, while Olaf with no TP is already here, right, as he needs to be. 2 dragons in favor of Shenandoah. Asheville saying, we are not going to let you have soul points, as they commit 5 players to this, and Shenandoah looking like they want to fight back as the dragon does go to Galaxy Bird. The fight breaks out as here comes the Olaf onto Levivane. So much damage coming down, but Noob is full health and getting so much damage down. A well-timed Shen ultimate will keep them alive, and now Nocturne is dead. Spit on this Olaf, still very healthy, has not gone down yet, and Noob now way out of position. That's a massive shutdown for Spit. More damage onto this Olaf as he looks to get even more. The taunt will land, no ultimate for him. Tanking tower shots left and right, and he won't take another one. Spit unkillable right now, and Empro trying to finish the job. He will land the hook and get it. Turret shots now raining down onto the Hui. So many low health bars, but with 4 people dead on Shenandoah, they cannot finish the team fight.
That fight felt like it was going so well for Shenandoah at the start. We saw Asheville start the dive and get that damage going, but Shenandoah was able to disengage a little bit, start getting their AD carries in a safer spot, get that damage up on Asheville's roster. But it was when the tanks just took a little bit too far of a step back, and Corky was then left out of position. Yes, Corky has a little bit of mobility, but it isn't enough there. And so now that money is falling into Asheville's hands, but Corky has an Infinity Edge.
Yeah, and that'll be something to keep an eye out, right, as we see more of these team fights break out over the course of the game. But I do want to shout out Galaxy Bird for getting the dragon in this replay, right? Again, the well-timed Shen ultimate to keep Levivane alive, and Shenandoah did a great job of kiting back and taking the fight slow to really stall out the Olaf, but not enough aggression onto the Olaf to kill him. Right? It doesn't matter how long you stay alive if he is still alive as well, and we see the results of that. He got so much money from this fight, and only going down to the Nautilus in the end, that shutdown going to your support, is certainly not what you'd like to see.
Yeah, but we have seen Empro making a lot of plays. I wouldn't mind a little bit of tankiness on my playmaker as we do see another fight break out.
Yeah, here comes the TP from Hui too, so this will be a 5-man commit, and the Morgana bind will land onto Empro, meaning this will be, at worst, a 5v4 for Asheville as they look to start the Baron.
And we do see Shen sort of taking a step towards the Dragon. They're looking like they're trying to take a little bit of a long way around, but the Baron is losing health quickly. I don't know if they're going to make it in time. They're not even going to walk towards it at all, Chris. They're just going to give this Baron in exchange for a little bit of stalling time.
Yeah, probably the right move, as that Nautilus CC is such a big deal to disrupt every other player on Asheville other than the Olaf, and numbers leaning towards Asheville's way. They opt to take the Baron, and Shenandoah just clearing camps, making money elsewhere, trying to stay in the game. But that last fight really did blow open the gold difference in this game. This is a now 7,000 gold deficit for Shenandoah, and we've seen them in these situations before, but not quite in this way, right? This even kills Shenandoah has been keeping up elsewhere, but ultimately looks like we will have a pause here, as we saw the Asheville 80 carry DC there for a second, so we'll keep you posted as we have some technical difficulties. But again, Shenandoah
is winless on the year, right? They've found themselves in these gold deficits, but this does feel so different.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, we saw glimmers of light. The team fight, it looked so good. It was just a couple of small decisions that needed to change.
Yeah, and small things that need to change seem to be the name of the game right now, as that DC pause seems to have been resolved relatively quickly, so shout out to whoever was able to resolve that as we get right back into the action here, as we see potentially not back into the action. We might have some more technical difficulties, and it seems like we do, so we will keep you up to date once we get back into game. But again, This is a whole different Shenandoah squad that we've seen compared to previous weeks, right? It's been one thing to watch this team sort of almost roll over in laning states and not even make it to this stage in the game. 23 minutes in on Soul Point is certainly nothing to scoff at if you're this SU squad.
Yeah, and look at where the money's falling, Chris. Olaf has 3 of the most dangerous items in this game. Olaf, 12,000 gold, Chris. That's a lot of money.
That is insane, right? I mean, just well over double his, excuse me, his lane opponent's gold, right? This is a, 7,000 gold lead total, and about 6.5 of that is Olaf over his lane opponent. So Levivane and Corki still have a ton of money, right, with 2 completed items on this Corki. 1 completed item looks like about to be an Infinity Edge coming out from Levivane 2. I mean, that is a lot of damage. That's a lot of money, do not get me wrong. But 12,003 complete items on this Olaf is going to cause massive issues for this SU backline.
Yeah, I feel like if you were going to make a play, you wanted to make it when the Olaf was bot side matching this Corki. But instead, we saw a bit of an initiation, the Morgana flashing out earlier, and I think now they will have to give this dragon to Asheville and just accept that the Baron buff needs to run out, and if they're going to make a play, it needs to be while Olaf is on the split push.
Yeah, the good news about the SU early game is that they did walk away with 3 dragons, including that stolen last one. So a lot of breathing room in terms of dragon being the win condition for Asheville, right? Asheville 99% likely to not see a soul by the time this game is over, but Shenandoah looking to make a play onto Spit Mouth, as we do see the stun will land, but not nearly enough damage from Skarner, and Shen will mean that nothing will come of this, and Spit knows that, ultimately saving his ultimate there.
Look out for Spit. He's walking his way into the mid lane as Nautilus was hit by a bind, but opts not to go for the follow-up.
Yeah, so Spit walks on a ward there, so yeah, ultimately walking back to lane. But I mean, again, look at Kangaroo Feet just trying to hold his own, right? But I mean, that was like one interaction, and there goes half of his health. But we pan back to the mid lane as Empro gets hit by a bind. The Shen ultimate will have to come out to keep him alive, but the Nautilus ult the other direction will mean that they get a kill in the mid lane. 700 more gold going to this Olaf's pocket, though, means that a cross-map play probably leans Asheville's direction.
Yes, and while Spit is able to make it back to his base, I do think Shenandoah needs to take advantage of this. You just took out a player. You need to be pushing your lane, need to be getting a little bit of a lead where this Olaf is not, but instead they're opting for the resets, trying to get a little bit more money, maybe thinking, hey, if we can get these items to match and stall this game long enough, we may be able to go blow for this Olaf, but that's not the sort of situation you want to be in for a League of Legends game.
Yeah, and item-wise, I can't help but wonder what item spikes SU is waiting for, because they do have the Infinity Edge completed on both of these carries, right? It's not going to get much better than this. So you're absolutely right. You got to kill. You watched the Olaf recall in the bot lane. I think you have to push up and make a play somewhere, but with no neutral objectives and waves just not in their favor, they don't get a ton from it, and the gold lead expands to 8,000 now.
Yeah, Levivane making sure that they're going on the aggressive, trying to get a little bit of that pressure going. But again, the gold is where it lies, and no one is going to be able to respond to this Olaf right now, as not only does he have this huge gold lead, but he also is 3 levels up top side. He has his level 3 ultimate, almost 200 bonuses in resistances. He is going to be such a deadly force, and he's got the Sterox and Death Stance to boot. That man will not go down, Chris.
No, not at all. And look at the Asheville players getting their resets off with 30 seconds before Baron. All 5 players will be there, right? Olaf moving back from base now as the root will land onto Empro. Does Nocturne have enough damage? He might, but with the Black Shield preventing him from going with the Blast Cone next to Empro, we do see the mid tower go down. Empro walks out with his life. Baron spawning in 5 seconds, and SU not exactly in a position to contest.
Yeah, but we do see Olaf is actually walking towards the Baron as well. Does Shenandoah opt to push a side lane, or are they going to try and go for this 5v5? An early pick could be enough to potentially turn the tide, as Skarner is immediately rooted on the start.
Yep, here come the lights going out, right? The dive onto the Corki, forced to flash away, but look at the Olaf damage all by himself in the Shenandoah backline. Noob left hopeless as the bullet time also comes out. Too much damage from the rest of the Asheville squad as both the carries on Shenandoah were forced to run so far away because this Olaf, you said it, is not going down.
Yeah, we do see that Asheville is going for the Baron and is just shredding through this. The death timers, Chris, almost 25 seconds on this Corki means that we will see Way starting to push the mid lane in a little bit. This game may be over sooner than we think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're SU, I don't know what the win con is anymore. I think it has to be the Dragon Soul up in 40 seconds, but they're just not in position, right? Asheville is going to have the first move with Shenandoah's main source of damage, this Corki, respawning right now. The Dragon up in 25 seconds. Asheville has all the time in the world to get their setup however they want, as we do see both of these teams now moving toward the bot side to set up for that exact play.
Dragon Soul for Shenandoah. Chemtech Soul nonetheless could be incredibly valuable, but I do think if it's going to happen, you need the steal from Shenandoah. You need this Skarner to dash in through the wall and get out in his own way or go down with the ship.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think Shenandoah wins a 5v5 basically under any circumstances, right? If the fight is even in any regard, Shenandoah loses. So if they're able to find a pick, if they're able to find the Dragon, that is where they need to create their advantage. But Noob ultimately getting caught there. He's able to get out as Olaf finds his way into the entire SU team. Nocturne turns the light off once again. The Dragon is dead. 2 Chemtech Souls going Asheville's way, but it does not matter if the entire Shenandoah squad is down. Levivane left all by herself to defend the base, and it looks like this game just might be over here fairly soon.
Yeah, bullet time is off the table, which means that it is on Levivane to clear this wave in the best way possible. But when you have a Viking and a Painter in your face, what can you do but go down slowly?
Yes, Asheville with the Nexus in their sights, the win in their minds, right? Both Nexus towers get fried by 6 scrubs early game, and with a Nautilus left to defend a Nexus, he certainly cannot do it. Asheville will take game 1, but I want to say in commanding fashion, SU was right there for most of the game.
It truly came down to that one counter pick. I think that Olaf is, if that character is swapped out for any other character in this game, that becomes so much more manageable. With Shenandoah had so much CC in their kit, right. They knew that they were able to lock down whoever this one carry player would be. It just so happens that the one they choose is the one character in this game who cannot be stopped.
I mean, it was such a smart pick, right? Olaf R5 is kind of a meme, and it certainly was. I mean, we alluded to the familiarity of Nocturne Kaisa. Something else that we were familiar with was getting R5 Olaf in that exact way, right? It has such a niche presence in the state of League of Legends, right? It's not a common character pick, but when it's the right pick, boy, does that character take over.
It's so hard to deal with, Chris, every single time.
Yeah, but it's certainly hard for a Shenandoah to deal with as we see them go down 1-0. We are going to take a quick break before we get into game number 2, so don't go anywhere. Grab a quick snap, grab some drinks. We'll be right back with more League of Legends action on the other side.
Welcome back to our lovely abode here at the Shenandoah Esports Arena in Winchester, Virginia. Chris Clayton joined again by my lovely brother Kevin Clayton as we just watched Shenandoah's League of Legends team go down 0-1 against the Big South reigning champs, Asheville University.
And it's happening again, Chris. We are seeing moments of sunlight, this beautiful light for Shenandoah, where they have just amazing potential. All of the pieces are falling into the right place, but it's just one factor this time around that really just shook things up. A character who got a lead early and managed to bring it to the rest of the map. I am shocked at how that played out.
Yeah, and we as Shenandoah students, and I'm sure many of you watching at home being likely Shenandoah fans, if you've been following this team all along, right, it's no secret their own 5. They have struggled to really bring it all together in a cohesive series so far. But that certainly feels like the closest they've come all year, right? They made plays. Galaxy Bird was all over the map in those first like 12 to 15 minutes, making plays everywhere they needed to, and it all did come down to just that R5 Olaf, right? It's so unique in its purpose, but man, can it be so valuable and so dangerous when done correctly.
And so as we hop into this next game, I don't want to address, we joke about this R5 Olaf and how valuable it is, but the scary thing about it is that it's usually not banned.
Correct.
Is because it fills such a niche purpose. If you don't know that your opponent has it and then they use it, that basically wins them this round. But then you can build your team comp around, okay, if you're going to pick Olaf again, well, I have a Fiora or like some ranged top laner to deal with it. Like, you can really make sure that they are not ready if they are going to go for that pick again, which means that the bot side of the map may be able to get away with what we saw in the previous round.
Yeah, and we do see so far, I believe all 5 bans that have been confirmed are the same, although Asheville making a adjustment here, banning the Corki with their 3rd ban, saying we do not want to see that again.
It was very strong. We saw so much value out of that Corki, who was just able to rack up that damage, got multiple kills early. I think 4 in total before even completing that collector. That is crazy value. So as we see Kangaroo Feet feeling a little bit of a sigh of relief, the Smolder is picked in its stead.
Yeah, this is already really interesting to me. We see the Smolder be the first option for Shenandoah in place of the Corki, right, which I believe was banned game 1, right? They opted for the Smolder ban instead of Corki. This time we will see the reverse and the immediate Dr. Mundo response, right? Asheville saying, we know that Smolder isn't going 80 carry. We're going to pick a melee top lane, just stat stick health bar into a Smolder. That really intrigues me.
Yeah, it's a very unique choice. We'll have to see how that lane plays out, because I get a little confused by the reasoning. Yes, you are playing a character who just soaks up health, but Smolder, like the burn and all of that, it's max health, if I remember right.
And
so,
at 225 stacks, it's true damage.
Yeah.
So I don't think the burn is max health unless he builds that, like in the form of a Leandri's. But I guess I could be mistaken, and I'm just not 100% sure. But ultimately, the reason I bring it up is because of how easy it will be for the Smolder to stack early on.
Yeah, the Mundo isn't exactly mobile.
No, not at all. Yeah. But, I mean, we saw what Spit was able to do just last game, right? What this player is capable of. And while I don't see nearly the same threat from a Dr. Mundo as I would from an Olaf, there's certainly nothing stopping a Dr. Mundo from taking over a game just in a different way.
Yeah, speaking of a character that can really take over a game, I'm a little concerned about this Zeri pick. Yes, we do see a Nautilus once again for the side of Shenandoah, who would be able to lock down that character, but already this draft has so many characters that you are going to want to keep in place for long periods of time, and Nautilus can't do it all.
Yeah, okay, now I'm very intrigued because we do see R5 is Jax. So, could that Mundo be a jungler, or is the Jax jungling? We won't find out until draft is done, but that does put a slight wrench in things, although still, I mean, kind of the same purpose, right? Jax is a little more mobile and has ways to get away from a Smolder stacking. Now I'm just confused. So, Yone R5,
So is
probably
it a Mundo?
mid lane, right? Mundo top, I feel like has to be.
I've seen Mundo in the jungle. It's definitely like doable. I wonder if they were trying to bait something out, and that's probably why they safety pick banned the Olaf in the second round of ban.
No, and I think that's smart, right? We have effectively the same comp, at least going into phase 2 of bans, and Shenandoah knows what they just got bit by, right? So a smart Olaf ban saying we are not letting that through again.
Yeah.
But comp-wise, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing left to speculate about. Like, the comps are in front of us. So how do these comps play into each other? Well, I mean, this Leona is a very different presence from a Morgana, right? That's a lot of CC that if they're able to land onto really either of the carries again on Shenandoah, right? This time it'll be their top laner and their AD carry. I mean, that's a dead player, right? QSS won't matter against a Leona, and especially when you've probably got a Zeri right behind her and a Yone blinking on top of you. Yeah, that Leona is going to be something to keep an eye out for.
I'm also thinking, because we saw Empro was so aggressive the last time around. Leona is only gas. You can only walk forward with that character. In that 2v2, who do you think walks out on top early game and then potentially later on?
Well, so the interesting thing that I took away from game number 1 was how aggressive Levivane played with the double ups, right? Not caring about her mana bar and ultimately having it pay off. If that type of playstyle happens again, and this Leona is not as aggressive as maybe she could be, I would give the early game to Shenandoah again, just based off of how much poke, damage, and pressure that Misfortune can exert, while Zeri is, like you said, similar to Leona in the sense that she kind of has to commit to get damage off of you, right? Her autos do not go through, her autos in the form of her Qs don't go through minions, right? So she needs to position herself sort of out of the way to get damage onto you, and that's easy pickings for a Nautilus hook to then take advantage of. So I would give the early game advantage in bot lane to Shenandoah. I do want to point out one more thing, though. We do see on the right side of your screen, it is a Dr. Mundo jungle.
Which makes more sense.
Right, but I also like the Shenandoah B5 pick of Lilia because that is max health damage. Her passive burn damage is max health damage. So Shenandoah ultimately aware that once they saw the Jax, they knew that the Mundo, or they probably knew, felt confident that the Mundo was going to be in the jungle, opting to pick the Lilia in the jungle. I like that pick. And that is a very comfortable pick for Galaxy Bird. That is their champion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that deer runs around at Mach 5 just doing whatever they want. And I am sure that it will bring a lot of value to this table. We have seen time and time again a lot of value on the bot side of the map, able to get a good lead going. My big concern is a Smolder Jax matchup. I don't know how that will feel because Jax at any given point can just jump onto Smolder. And yes, Smolder can fly away, but if Jax is preemptive using that E to get that stun, and even just a quick combo, Jax cooldowns aren't exactly long.
Correct. Yeah, if I'm Smolder, I'm a lot more scared about that than I would be about a Dr. Mundo. I have no shame in saying that, and you're right. This Jax is going to come online relatively quickly in this lane against Smolder, right? It's not going to take much. I would give like level 1, level 2, maybe level 3 to Smolder, right, to just sit there and be annoying.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's not going to take a ton for this Jax to start standing up to the Smolder and beating him down, right? It's gonna be scary, but so far we haven't seen Kangaroo Feet really be able to keep up with that pressure either, right? This is the first time that we're really gonna need to see Kangaroo Feet hold his ground, plant his feet in the ground, and become a force to be reckoned with over the course of this game on what I believe to be a champion that he does really want.
Yeah, and when going into this, I'm hoping Shenandoah's players will be a little bit more proactive on helping him. If this Jax player is incredibly aggressive, if you have a Mundo on the other side in that jungle, yeah, sure, it's a big, healthy Mundo, but an early game Mundo jungle diving towers should not, like, you shouldn't get away with it.
Correct. Yeah, I would not think that would work, but I mean, time will tell, right? I'm excited to see how Galaxy Bird does play around the map for Shenandoah, because we saw the overwhelming presence of that Skarner last game, and Lilia, like you said, has the movement speed to be able to do the exact same thing. Not nearly as much CC that a Skarner has, but there's not as much CC prevention from Asheville, right? We saw an overwhelming amount of CC prevention in the form of that Black Shield and the Ragnarok and all of it, the Nocturne Spell Shield. That was a lot to deal with, and Skarner needed all of the CC options he had to be able to get through it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Galaxy Bird is able to make their presence felt in a different way than last game, because for all I know, it could be in the form of fighting Dr. Mundo a lot more than we saw in game number 1, because you have that burn damage.
Yeah, just trying to get those stacks early on could be incredibly vital. I do... Not only is there the factor of getting the Smolder online, I think Shenandoah struggled just a little bit last time on taking objectives when other plays were happening. Because the Olaf was big and scary. Don't get me wrong, you are allowed to be terrified of something that deserves to be feared.
Right.
And yet, it's so important for you to make plays on the other half of the map. If Olaf is topside, you don't need to fear the Olaf in the bot lane because he is topside and he brought Flash and Ghost.
Correct. Yeah, I agree there needs to be more like tracking of all the players on Asheville, right? And maybe not knowing exactly where they are at any given moment, but right, we saw, watching the top laner recall when the play is happening on the other side of the map, and yeah, I would like to see more cross mapping and not forcing contests every given opportunity. But we do see a little gimmicky action here coming out of Asheville. A 5-man stack into the bot lane, and Empro will be the first to find out about it as they do walk into the bush. Empro does get stunned from the flash Q, forced to flash over the wall. Spitmouth flashes with him, gets the stun off. The Mundo Cleaver will land, and now Empro forced to just slowly walk away as Spitmouth will likely get the kill. He sure will. 400 gold in his pocket, and only an assist coming down from Mundo and Leona, but an unfortunate start once again for Shenandoah.
Kangaroo Feet is probably not feeling too good about that one, as we are seeing some spam pings in the chat. Just a little, making sure that they're aware. Hey, you may have been able to join and help me on this. But they got the KO, okay? That's what matters here.
Yeah, it looked like Asheville a little frustrated that they didn't get that kill faster, and making sure that their jungler knows that they could have contributed, but it's behind them. Now, funny stuff out of Asheville as we now move into the real game, and early advantage now for Asheville. Certainly not what you'd like to see if you're a Shenandoah fan, but nothing they can't overcome, right? Especially if we see them play like they did last game, right? An early hook onto this Leona, some nice chip damage from the double up. Oh, but we did see Spitmouth start his E in that level 1 exchange, and now Kangaroo Feet caught too far up in lane, and again taking just too much damage level 1. We do see that he brought Grasp, so might be able to keep up a little bit. An interesting interaction there in the bot lane as both supports just launching themselves in opposite directions, but Kangaroo Feet again just disrespecting the Jax, not even level 2 yet, and forced to flash away with little to no health.
Yeah, keep in mind, again, Jax's cooldowns are relatively low. He doesn't have Flash because of the earlier interaction at that Dragon, but as we do see, a lot of just quick fights, just little back and forth trades in these lanes means that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this game feels faster paced than what we even saw last time. And I like to think that last time was pretty fast.
Oh, I definitely would not argue with you on that. And I have to point out again, well, I might have to leave that again, another stun from this Jax as he finds even more damage. But I would like to point out how much I really like these trades going on in the bot lane, right? Right as I say it, Nautilus finds another hook this is a very different bot lane that we've seen from previous weeks. Again, more damage coming out from Spit onto this Smolder, this poor baby dragon, forced to just zone himself off the wave. We do see a potential gank coming in the mid lane, but a little too much of a gap there as Yon is able to walk to the top side. But again, back to my original point, these bot lane skirmishes feel so different, and I love it for Shenandoah's bot lane.
Yeah, we also see, I mean, Lilia, yes, a very fast character, but only by virtue of hitting the opponent, which means that these ganks will take a little bit of time to come online if the opponent is spacing it well. But when you have interactions like these, it may work in your favor.
Yeah, no flash up for the Leona as she used it level 1, but we also see the trade kill coming out top lane, and then not a bad death from Spitmouth there as he forces the Kangaroo Feet to miss quite a bit of minions there, but ultimately teleports will likely come out both directions, except, Kangaroo Feet forced to use his TP. Spit will hold on to his. Good plays around the map as Shenandoah finds a kill bot and a kill top, but Spit with another kill in his pocket could mean we are headed back to where we were game 1.
Yeah, we're playing another game with a double TP, Chris, which means that we should be seeing more global plays again this time around. Not only that, you have Galio for the side of Shenandoah, which means we have the playmaking potential to really try and bring things forward, try to get this momentum going. But for now, it will just stick with these trades as Empro walks mid lane.
Yes, again, Shenandoah making their presence felt all around their map in different ways. Empro finding his way mid and plenty of CC. He did use the hook before the Yon Q3, so Yon able to walk out of that one, and that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, look how far not only is the Yone able to just stick around the lane a little bit, but also now Smolder needs to push up a little. And we do see Nautilus is trying to help, making sure that this wave crashes as Jax goes for the aggressive approach and is trying to get as much damage, but the stun doesn't connect, and there's a big wave, Chris.
Yeah, big wave and a Nautilus, a great Wardhob there to avoid the hook, but ultimately no play is the call from Shenandoah, and probably the right call as we now see the result of that dive could have been disaster with a Mundo standing in the tri-bush, now making his presence known as Spit is on his way with a stun active. Smolder does not have a ton of damage yet, and Spit finds the kill onto Empro. Here comes Galaxy Bird, though, trying to finish the job with no movement speed just yet, so struggling to catch up, but Airplane Hat just a little too far forward, the flash forward, and Galaxy Bird misses the W. Galio ult also coming down and flashing under tower to try to get the kill. He will get stunned and go down to the tower, but they cannot finish Spitmouth. They sure can, excuse me. The burn damage from the Lilia will take down the top laner. A full wave will be lost. Spitmouth with his teleport still up will get back in decent time, but a big commit from Shenandoah, and it does pay off so far.
I mean, it's a lot of value initially, but now the bot lane is losing out on a pretty big wave, as we see there, as well as a couple of plates and 4 kills on the Jax. We saw how good this player is. It's a dangerous play, but a very good counter gank, because that play otherwise would have been devastating for Shenandoah.
Oh, absolutely, and they do walk away with 3 grubs, so that is the difference maker this time around, right? 4 kills on the top laner. Like you said, we saw how dangerous that can be, but walking away with lives still up is the big difference maker. Ultimately, getting the grubs, a 4-man commit to Dragon will mean that Asheville will get their first Dragon. So, the opposite of last game, right? The cross map goes the other direction. As we now see Spitmouth's flash is back, and he makes light work of Galaxy Bird. That is a Sheen, Phage, and a Doran's Blade, dealing a lot of damage right in Galaxy Bird's face.
And that's another 300 in pocket of this Jax, who's going for that Trinity Force start, which again makes sense, but we do see a hook early on the bot side.
Yeah, an unfortunate timed hook there, as he probably did not see the Mundo walking out just yet, so Empro launching himself into very dangerous territory will result in an easy cleanup for the rest of the Asheville squad there. Empro goes down, the gank results in a kill, and now the gold lead in favor of Asheville reaches about 2,000.
Chris, I'm seeing a very aggressive choice from Empro on the bot side of the map. He has rushed Bramble early on, trying to shut down this Mundo healing before it even becomes a factor.
Yeah, good ward there from the
Asheville mid laner does spot Galaxy Bird on the Raptors. A big commit there with the ultimate and the E over the wall means that Galaxy Bird finds himself very low, but the team opting to take Noob as Noob walked up to try to save Galaxy Bird's life, and he will actually get out with his life. So successful heist there from Shenandoah, unable to be punished just yet, but Galaxy Bird hangs around just a little too long, did not leave, and now will almost surely go down as Mundo drops his ultimate, gets the movement speed, and Galaxy Bird does go down. Way too aggressive positioning there, and what looked like a winning play from Shenandoah instantly becomes a losing one.
Yeah, very aggressive choice. I'm sure the thought process was, if I'm going to go down, then I'm going to get this red buff gold.
Yeah.
But the Galio lived. You managed to chase them all the way. At the very least, you may have been able to go for that execute or give it the kill to the Leona. But instead, now a ton of people are topside, and there is a baby dragon just trying to live, man.
Yeah, Smolder calling for his mom in desperation. The turret aggro going on to Leona, and a well-executed dive means that none of them even lose that much health. The flash also coming out from Kangaroo Feed, ultimately not enough to keep him alive, and now we see the cross-mapping, right? Here's the time to capitalize if you're Shenandoah, or I guess to salvage what is, oh man, maybe to capitalize. I take that back as we see the Galio ult in to try to commit to this play as they try to get a kill. This area ult will also come out. Nautilus goes down to the tower. Noob taking a lot of tower damage, but won't quite go down either. A trade kill, top lane and bot lane. Well done there by Shenandoah to try to get a play, but again, we see ultimately Asheville walking out ahead in terms of gold.
Those are the kinds of plays that I wanted to see last game, and I'm glad that Shenandoah is starting to make those plays now. It could eventually snowball into a bleed later on, but right now, Galaxy Bird has been caught in these awkward spots and may be caught in another.
Yeah, this time with Empro around to help out, but not nearly enough, as Airplane Hat does not even lose half his health bar. The Lilia damage and Nautilus not enough to keep up with a Yone and a Dr. Mundo, so now Airplane Hat with that full bot side jungle to himself, and a Leona there to ensure that he does not find himself in any trouble. Shenandoah is on the wrong side of this heavy snowball. Oh man,
speaking of wrong side.
Actually, yeah, Levivane walking up a little too far. The Leona ult, the solar flare, does come out. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Spitmouth finding his way onto Kangaroo Feet again, just autoing him to death. Nothing flashy, but another kill in his pocket. 6 and 2, a completed Trinity Force, no boots needed. Now, again, action all over the map as Dr. Mundo opting to stay down here. Levivane cannot walk up to this tower, and look at that wave under tower. That's a big loss for Levivane. And again, action around the map continues. Galaxy Bird trying to make anything of the situation, starting the grubs, but too much map control from Asheville means that they are going to walk out with a lost wave bot and 3 grubs up on the top side of the map.
And the gold leads are starting to build up, Chris. 4K gold difference between both teams. And while we aren't seeing it all stacked onto one player necessarily, this Jax player is still such a dangerous factor as Mundo is on the run.
Yeah, but we see Galaxy Bird drop the ultimate, and Mundo does flash over the wall, so that forces the flash from the Lilia to come out to finish that kill. So ultimately not a bad play from Airplane Hat, who was likely dead anyway, but we see an engage from Yone here. Enough CC to hold him there for a little bit, but not enough damage to kill him before he goes back, so he walks out with his life. No major commitment there as we move back to a relatively quiet state around the map for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I feel like both sides have been trying to be aggressive, trying to make these plays, as we do see Mundo making his way out of the base. Shenandoah's jungler is on this dragon, trying to even things out 1-for-1, but they're not taking this pretty quickly, and Mundo is on his way. It's a good thing. Asheville's laners, oh, Yone stops the back. He may be here for this fight.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'm not even sure that Asheville realized that Shenandoah was on the dragon. They were not moving towards it until the Dr. Mundo, but Spitmouth is here. He had TP'd into the Tribush and finds himself in the backline. Levivane in so much trouble, but 2 knockups will not save her. The Zeri flashes in, finds the ultimate damage, and the rest of Shenandoah will go down. Noob left, the only one standing, forced to run for his life. Flashes out for now, but
Dr. Mundo may have the angle. Noob committing to staying under his tower. Spit took a lot of tower damage there, and it looks like Asheville might not have the health bars to finish this play. Leona on her way, though, actually. It might be the health bar they need. Noob, again, standing firm, committing to this. If you're going to dive me, you're going to do it under this tower. The dive, the turret aggro goes on to the Leona. Again, a well-executed dive means they all walk out alive.
A dangerous spot to be in. I'm sure he wanted to walk away after seeing that jump as Kangaroofy using the Smolder ulti to just clear the wave. So many dangerous champions on the side of Asheville, and so hard to deal with, means that it's really starting to become difficult. Where are your opportunities to come back into this game?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I mean, the one light at the end of the tunnel for Shenandoah right now is the late game Smolder, right? You have to understand that even if Smolder is down in gold, down in kills, that is still a stacking demon to be reckoned with later in the game. But we did just look top lane and got a view of his stacks. I believe he's at like 85-ish, which is not exactly where you'd like to be, right? The threshold's at 125, and then 225 is the really big one that you're trying to work towards. So still well over 130 stacks away from reaching that true damage point and really becoming a massive problem. But we see the ultimate come down from Galaxy Bird trying to find some damage onto this Yeon. They are finding a little bit of damage, but Airplane Hat has made his way into the lane now as well. Kangaroo Feed and Galaxy Bird with a good amount of movement speed to just try to kite back, but Airplane Hat also has some movement speed on his own. We see Noob and Spit going at it in the bot lane, but two very tanky players. Probably nothing to see down here, at least just yet, as they do trade, so next interaction could result in a death either way, but ultimately no kills on either side of the map here as both teams just walk out with what they came for.
I'm a little excited to see if Galio will be sent to match this Jax going forward, because your Magic Defense champion, Galio, is building full armor.
Yeah.
He is going to try and deal with this Jax. At the very least, clear these waves before any sort of Baron or anything like that happens. So if this Galio can at the very least do that, then maybe they can keep the momentum, get those Smolder stacks online, and bring back this game.
Yeah, Smolder, I believe, just crossed the 100 stack threshold. So again, I mean, that really is the timeline for this game. That's the ticking time bomb for Asheville and the win condition for Shenandoah, right? It's, can Smolder get 225 stacks or more while this game is still going on, right? That's the true damage, that's the execute, that's the massive AoE in these team fights. It's a completely different champion as soon as that comes online, but it's still, at least if you're Shenandoah, it feels like so far away. But with a Smolder standing here, side laning, farming waves, and against a melee laner, it's not a bad draw for Kangaroo Feet.
Now, walk me through. Smolder's build changes so much every single minute as we see Spit, kind of vibing, making sure that Galio's aware, hey, listen, I can't kill you, you can't kill me, we're just going to vibe here, let's enjoy life. But what does the Smolder build look like when you go Trinity?
Yeah, so the weird thing, and admittedly, I've never entirely understood this, and I think it was a result of all of the nerfs and adjustments to Smolder just over time, as we see, just smack around session down here in the bot lane. Yeah, nobody's gonna die down here, but yeah. So the weird thing about Smolder is that his burn damage scales off his crit chance, but you rarely ever see Smolder's build crit anymore. And again, I think it's just a result of all of the changes that he has gone through since he was released, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that Smolder on release was just a mistake. So, so many patches, I want to say 11 patches straight of nerfs to this champion have resulted in a Trinity Force being usually the first item. Sometimes it's an Iceborne, but usually Trinity Force first, then you go Manamune, which he already has full stacks, so that would be a Mer Mana, just raw AD damage, and then you usually go either Spear of Shojin or sometimes Rapid Fire Cannon if you're really struggling with the range. So it's a strange build. It's pretty unique as we see Galaxy Bird caught in some trouble, and we also see a teleport come from the mid laner. Wow, no CC is able to land on Galaxy Bird. They just walk right out. A massive commit from Asheville as they will ultimately say, all right, fine, we're still going to take the Dragon because we have 5 players here, and we're going to make sure we get something for it.
I mean, a lot of resources were burned just now as the sleep powder is on the Jax, but they opt not to try and burst him there. Instead, we see Kangaroo Feet trying to get a little bit of value topside. Jax opting for the TP as Pipe breaks out.
Yeah, we see the Yone ult over the wall resulting in a kill onto Galaxy Bird, and now Spit making sure that he catches up to Kangaroo Feet. He will flash forward for it to make sure he gets that kill. Kangaroo Feet goes down once again, and I mean, we find ourselves once more with Shenandoah just a little overextended, trying to contest something that they really just shouldn't.
Yeah, and I don't know, Chris. The more I look at this, the worse it feels, because in the first game, it felt like a lot of players on the map still had the resources to potentially bring it back. But this time around, I feel as though the jungler for Shenandoah just hasn't been able to find the moments to get their money rolling, playing a little bit more of a passive game, trying to counter jungle the Dr. Mundo, and instead has been caught out multiple times by the team.
Yeah, we now see an engage down on the bot side, excuse me, as Smolder calling for his mom once more to try to thin out this wave as much as possible. And they're going to look to make a play onto Spitmouth here. 700 gold in his pocket, but only Levivane and Kangaroo Feet. That is 280 carries against a very fed Jax. You cannot make a play there.
I've been in that situation so many times, and the moment you see that, you think it's payday. So I'm very happy that Shenandoah's players opted to back out there. But at the same time, I respect Spit being able to understand I'm worth a lot right now. I don't need to be overextending for this. Get my tower and walk away.
Yeah, and we again find ourselves at about the 20-minute mark with that Jax at over 10,000 gold. 2 completed items, about to be a wit's end. I mean, that is a terrifying carry, right? Jax can more than take over a game. I would say more than an Olaf, right? And Olaf is such a niche character that we saw take over last time. Jax can just about do it all, as we now see. I mean, we're about to see the result of that. Noob is going to take some damage here, right? Still pretty tanky, so he won't go down. But again, I mean, Spit is able to walk around and do basically whatever he wants now for presumably the next probably 20 minutes at least.
Yeah, as the Rift Herald is summoned for the side of Asheville. I don't think they were planning on summoning it there, which means a team fight's breaking out.
Yeah, we do see Yone caught a little out of position, but here comes Shelly to draw some attention away from the Yone, and now charging it down the top lane as there's not a tower there. So this Dr. Mundo is actually going to find himself pretty deep into the Shenandoah backline, but a massive mom called from Smolder will find some damage, but Nautilus goes down to the Dr. Mundo. Smolder finding his damage and finding the kill onto that same Dr. Mundo, but here comes Spit. 1 player remaining that they just forgot about. Zeri charges well over the wall, and the rest of the damage on Asheville has arrived. Shenandoah dropping in numbers. 4 bodies hit the floor and make it 5. Spitmouth making his presence known anywhere across the map.
And now the inhibitors will be going down because of it. The gold difference falling into 10K territory, Chris. Almost 12K, excuse me. It's crazy to see just how well Shenandoah executed on collapsing on a Mundo who was very much out of place. Yeah. And yet, it didn't matter in the long run because they had to chase for so long.
Yeah, and I think that is a result of the state of the game, right? That Mundo was so out of place, but Smolder is too far behind, and Lilia was not able to dish out enough damage to kill the Mundo fast enough, and it bought enough time for Jax to move all the way across the map and be there to clean up easy, right? And same with Zeri, right? We know how mobile that character can be, especially when she can slide over a wall like we saw. I mean, all of a sudden, a great play takes too long and becomes a horrible play, and it results in Shenandoah losing all 5 players and multiple terrain objectives and turrets and the mid lane inhibitor.
do see Galio returning back for a little bit of damage. There's no Divine Sunderer in this game, which means that he will just kind of take a little bit of chip back from the Jax. Both players giving their thumbs up, saying so be it, as now Galaxy Bird returns and may try to get a little bit more damage.
Yeah, Shenandoah maybe looks to layer their CC a little bit, but opting to not commit too heavily to that one, then that interests me a little bit, right? Noob down here just farming, Galaxy Bird looking to maybe force a play, but ultimately just ends up taking some farm. Let's see, Smolder up to 173 stacks now, so that's some serious progress. And you know, you're still obviously not where you'd like to be. That 225 is the magical number that we're waiting for, but with now these waves pushing all the way to the Shenandoah base, it's going to make it a little bit easier for Smolder to farm if Shenandoah is a little coordinated in how they give these minions to Smolder, if that's the route they decide to go down. But right now, we see Asheville opting to take their third dragon and move to Soul. 0.5 more minutes before a very important dragon will spawn.
And the Baron is up, and the inhib for Shenandoah mid is down. So many factors are working against SU at the moment. It is going to be on Kangaroo B. Can he get these stacks before these Baron enhanced waves crash into this base? This Baron's going down fast, and Smolder is not next to a wave. He has to walk pretty far up to get these stacks. It's a dangerous spot to be in. And now it is falling even further away from Shenandoah.
Yeah, we do see the completed Manamune, now a Muramana, on the Smolder, so that helps, right? That's going to be some extra damage from the Smolder, but I mean, again, none of it really matters until you get to 225 stacks. So he's going to need to be able to farm, and now that only became harder as they are going to be Baron-empowered minions that he needs to be killing, but if he's able to do it, I mean, I don't know. If you're Asheville, you need to be conscious of that, right? You are up huge, but that, I mean, I referred to it earlier as a ticking time bomb, and I meant that, right? This Smolder damage becomes deceptively strong no matter how the game has gone for him. But Galaxy Bird caught out of position once again, getting a little too aggressive. You are no longer entitled to that jungle. Forced to flash over the wall, and will looks like get out with their life, but again, just a little too relaxed about their positioning, and Shenandoah gets caught and pays for it.
I love the aggression when it matters, but at this point, it's such a dangerous game. You said it, Chris. You can't be too aggressive about your jungle as Lilia goes down in her own jungle to the Yone.
Wow, I mean, that is not great, but we do see a good trigger pull there from Shenandoah to try to capitalize on the Leona making the same mistake, but ultimately a great flash there from Leona to walk out of a Nautilus hook and the Galio E, as now Asheville will, looks like, take their resets with one inhibitor down and another one exposed, and probably make their buys for what could be the last push of this game.
We do see that the Smolder ulti is used, and all-inning the Yone, who is able to use that E to get back to where he started it off, as Leona is a little out of place.
Yeah, now this Leona no longer has flash, but the hook goes toward the Zeri, so a good dash from Zeri to get over the wall and out of danger, but just buying time, right? Shenandoah doing what they need to do, which is exactly that, buy time. Smolder at 210 stacks, approaching that magical number. But it looks like by the time he gets it, Shenandoah could have 3 inhibitors down. We do see Galio opting to ult into the back line and finds a taunt onto 4. Can Shenandoah capitalize? A massive bolt time comes through, gets good damage, but he will get Yone ulted into the back line. Misfortune out with her life. No, she is not. Yone recalls and finds massive damage. The shock from the static shiv rippling through the back line, through Shenandoah's entire team, and now Smolder left to defend the base, but could be at 225 stacks, and he might be able to make this stand against the Dr. Mundo. Look at that! The execute comes down. He's able to probably clear these minions. That's going to be another execute as well. The barrier has to come out to save the life, clearing the minions. Yone left with no wave to try to take the tower. Kangaroo feet standing under tower in too much danger. You said it, Kevin. Take the reset. Too low to defend, and now 2 waves crashing in from 2 lanes. 1 tower left remaining. A respawn from Nautilus, Misfortune, and Lilia will come in time. Can they take the Nexus? It looks like they won't. Cynthia on the Zeri opting to run away. Yon trying to get a kill before he will likely go down. A teleport coming in from Spit. Could end the game on his own if he has the damage, or maybe just kill everybody. This is a 12-3 Jax. He finds the kill onto Empro and so much damage coming out, but he will actually take so much damage in return, dodging the final Misfortune auto and jumping to safety with a ward. Galaxy Bird still so much movement speed, able to catch up, and Shenandoah stands tall, plants their feet in the ground, and says, we're not going down just yet.
Oh my lord! Chris, the smolder stacks came in when they needed the most. The Nexus is open. It is very easy for a Zeri and a Jax to find their way into the base, but the damage is online. Shenandoah has the resources they need. It's just a matter now. Can they hold the line? Can they find these opportunities to really bring it home? We will have to see. Galaxy Bird going for a couple of jungle camps, getting a little bit more money in their pocket, opting to give the 4th dragon the Mountain Drake, which won't have too much of an effect as of now, as there are not many bonus resistances on any champion besides Boots, and that includes the Mundo.
Yeah, Galaxy Bird caught just a little too aggressive again, trying to go for that miracle steal maybe, but can't even get to the back of the dragon wall before that is already dead. So, you said it, Mountain Soul in hand for Asheville as they now charge down 3 dead inhibitors and an exposed Nexus. It does not get more overwhelming than that. Misfortune has some wave clears. Smolder has a lot of wave clears. We see him call in his mom once more to try to take care of that one, as Asheville says, all right, fine. We've got 3 more waves coming in here pretty soon, so they can sit here for as long as they need to, and eventually Shenandoah will likely get overwhelmed and have to start a fight.
Not only that, TikTok Baron is going to be up in 20.
Yeah, and we see the fight break out as it's actually on Asheville to start the fight. They find Galaxy Bird just out of position again. The Zonias will come out, but not by enough time, as now we have a fight at the Nexus. Smolder damage coming out, but he goes down as well, gets caught with the knockup from the Yon. Galio trying to ult back to base, cannot make it. Levibane running for her life in the beacon, but going down the healing, not enough. And now Noob left all by himself. He will die, and Shenandoah loses their Nexus, loses the series, goes down 2-0. Asheville comes out on top. Oh, wow.
It was close,
breath,
Chris.
Kevin.
You did good. You did good, because not only did we have a moment where it seemed like it was over, and then Smolder came in from the base and was able to just clear the wave, but then went down shortly after, and we lose the other tower. I mean, it all just collapsed into place, and yet they kept it alive.
yeah. The stack threshold, the true damage, the executes came in right when they needed to. Like the probably last possible second that could have happened. Shenandoah makes their stand, right? It says, okay, we've got our win con. It just only costed us our entire base. But I mean, yeah, it's just a little too late, too late, and Shenandoah ultimately goes down in a heartbreaker, but man, I mean, improvement. I don't mean to beat this team down too bad. They look consistently better and better every week, and it's exciting to watch, but still just not quite able to get over the hump.
And I hope so badly soon we will be able to see that, because I do believe they are so close to the top of the hill, and the horizon once you get up there is truly beautiful. I just hope that they are willing to make that push.
Yeah, so with that, our week 6 of competition here in NECC comes to a close. Shenandoah falls 2-0 against Asheville. A great series by both teams, but shout out to Asheville coming out on top and looking very strong along the way. So with that, that's going to do it for us here at Shenandoah. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to drop us a follow on whatever platform you may be watching right now so that you don't miss any of our action across any of our teams. So with that, hey, be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life, and we will see you next time.
Shenandoah University is a big little university rising.
With 22 Division III sports teams, over 200 areas of study,
Over 300 annual performances, an elite academic esports program,
Nationally ranked health professions programs, one of the biggest university presences on Broadway.
immersive AR and VR learning programs,
Cybersecurity and computer science programs, and innovative undergrad and graduate programs.
all at a place that cares for you.
Shenandoah University is the big little university rising. Find out more at su.edu/rising.
We have the Esports Arena right here on campus in Winchester, Virginia, and this facility acts as the hub for all esports activity at Shenandoah University. Students are able to use this space not just for competition and practices, but also as a living learning community and a sandbox for them to come and explore and practice and try out things related to and through esports in the gaming industry so that they're getting that hands-on learning and the skills necessary to help them find a career by the time they graduate. We also have the professional level broadcast production booth where we do all of our broadcasting and production, from casting of our games that we play right here on campus to working with outside entities to record footage for them as well. In addition to the space that we have here in the Esports Arena is the Esports War Room. Our students get to use that space for studying, but also outside projects. So our students get to use this space for professional development and the academic side of our esports program, which is such a critical component to go with that competitive element that we have. So we combine all of our facilities at Shenandoah University with competition, community, and career preparation. We have over 250 days of programming, and there's something for everybody, and we want you to be part of it.
Understand it, this wasn't the plan.